Hi everyone, welcome to session 4, Scenic 6 for our Make It Multiple GoGo Dayaway workshop. This is Nikki and we will need the Paige Evans papers. So there are 2 papers that you will need for this class. It's the one with all the ombre look to it that you can just see there, and the note paper or ledger paper, and a piece of white card for your background. So I started off by cutting a large piece of the ombre style paper. I had initially planned for this layout to go onto the ledger paper as the background, but it just wasn't working because of where the margin was on the ledger paper. It meant that my whole design couldn't be central. It had to be over on the right hand side. So this is what I'm doing right now, is I'm sitting here trying to work out if I can work with that or if I need to change my direction. And yes, I decided to change direction and go for a white background, but I spend a little bit of time trying to work out if I can make this happen. But yeah, I'm cutting my ombre paper up into colour blocks. So the idea was to have large areas of colour on this paper, on this layout, for your photos to sit inside. So that's what we've got here with the ombre paper, because we have like bright pink at the top, and then we have orangey pink in the middle and orangey yellow at the bottom. So I've just cut that into boxes. Each one is 4.5 inches wide by 3.25 inches tall. And of course I'm going to distress all of the edges of those. But I also want some other layers as well, so I don't just want them to the photos to sit directly onto these coloured squares. I want to have lots of different layers going on here, and for each little photo block to be its own little layout itself. So yeah, right now I'm just distressing all of the edges. What I should say is that make sure that you follow your instructions for all of these classes, rather than just try and follow the process videos, because we when we're designing a class in the first place, we might do things in a different order than it would be sensible to do it if we knew what we were doing before we started. Does that make sense? So definitely follow the instructions and do everything in order it says to do it on the instructions, rather than try to follow along with exactly what I'm doing in the video. As I say, it's just probably done in a different order than what it is on your instructions. Okay, so you can see that I've realised that going onto a white background is going to work a lot better than the ledger paper, which is a shame because I do like a pattern paper background, even if it's subtle. But that margin was just causing me issues because this design was so large, it needed to be central really. So now what I'm doing is I'm cutting up the other paper, the ledger paper. It's got ledger on one side and it's pink florals on the other side, and I'm just cutting that into small blocks as well. The measurements are on your instructions, but they are about 3 3/4 inches wide by 3 inches tall, and I've done 6 of those again, and then I'm arranging those onto my layout, some showing the floral side, the pink floral side, and some showing the white ledger side. So that gives me some different looks for each of my little tiles for my photos. So I'm just layering everything up. So I've got my photo, my pink or ledger layer, and my ombre layer, and they're just all sitting there ready to be stuck down, but I'm just making sure that everything's looking okay before I actually stick things down, and distressing all the edges as well, of course. So I have the pink side showing under the photos, in the top right photo, the middle left photo, and the bottom right photo, and then the other ones are the ledger side. So that's how I've arranged that. And then I wanted 2 larger blocks, and I decided to go for the ledger side because I had some of that ledger paper left over. So I cut 2 larger blocks of that same ledger paper, and they are 5 inches wide by 3.5 inches tall, and they go under the bottom right photo as the lowest or the bottommost layer, and then under the middle left block as well. Again, edges distressed, of course. So we either have 3 or 4 layers for every photo block. One of those is your photo, one is the pink or ledger, and the other one is the ombre. And then on 2 of the blocks, we have another larger ledger piece at the very bottom as well. So you can see that I'm still, nothing's still stuck down. I'm still making sure that I'm happy with how everything's looking. And now moving on to creating my clusters. So on the remaining ombre paper, there are flowers on the other side. Not very many because we used most of the ombre paper for the colour blocking, but there are a few, and some half ones as well. So I've just cut those out, fussy cut those out, and then you can see where I've placed them onto the layout, and they're going to form the basis of my clusters. So I've got 1 fussy cut flower on each of those areas, and before I heavily embellish, because we know that that's what I do and I get a bit carried away with that sometimes, I decided that I really needed to get my titles and my wording in to this layout because it's such a busy design, it's such a very large design, there's lots and lots going on, that there's not really any room for a title. So I used those words from the Maggie Holmes Marigold phrase thickers, and I have used 3 titles. Smile is on the top left photo, Lovely is on the middle right photo, and Today is on the bottom left photo. So really it has 3 titles. But also I'm going to add another title to the top right photo, Sunshine and Happiness, from the chipboard sheet. So I've got those 3 words in. I'm happy with how they're looking. So now I'm just continuing to build up my clusters. The top left photo has got a large square from the Paige Evans Go the Scenic Route chipboard. It's a lilac coloured square, and I've just pulled that off of the chipboard sheet and popped that underneath my photo. Yeah, that's just an extra layer really there. And now I'm carrying on adding in my clusters. So I keep building my clusters. I've added the gold leaves from the thickers. I've added chipboard flowers from the chipboard sheet. And now adding in some hearts. My clusters continue to grow throughout this process. And I keep adding more and more and more to them. Considering how big this layout is with all of the 6 photos on there, I'm impressed at how many embellishments I did actually manage to get onto this page. And it's an extremely heavy layout. When my husband actually picked it up, and he was like, "Wow, that's a heavy one." So obviously it is a lot heavier than some of the others because there is just so much on here. So from the chipboard sheet, I've pulled off all of the little geotags and hearts. They're a bit tricky to get out of the chipboard, so you can just like poke them through from the other side. But somebody gave me a tip once that if you unpeel the whole backing from the back of the chipboard and then re-stick it down, it makes everything much easier to pop out. So give that a go if you want to. Don't discard it completely, otherwise your chipboard will be sticking to everything. But what I did was I pulled out all the little geotags and the hearts, and I popped them onto my thickers sheet there, and then I was able just to pick them up and work with them as and when I needed them, rather than try to release them from the chipboard sheet as I went along. So as well as the 3 main clusters, which are coming on nicely, I'm also adding little other clusters in other places as well. So I didn't want any of my photos to feel left out, so I've also added some small embellishments to each of the other clusters as well. So the top left photo, I've got a couple of geotags and a gold heart. I don't think I've added the gold heart yet. To the Oh, the photo of me and my husband over on the right in the middle, that doesn't actually have anything on, so it is a lonely photo. But the top right photo in the corner, bottom corner, has got 3 little hearts, and then the photo in the bottom left has 2 little hearts as well, and some geotags and a geotag in the top right corner of that photo as well, that's kind of attached to the above cluster that has kind of spilt over into the other into the lower photo. Okay, so I am still just getting everything stuck down, adding lots and lots of bits and pieces. Do have a look at the close-up pictures of the clusters so that you can see exactly what I have done. Of course, if your clusters look slightly different to mine, that's no problem at all. It's just that you can copy them if you want to, because of course you have all of the same supplies that I have, so you can recreate each cluster exactly as I have made it, if you want to. So with my photos, I'm just getting them stuck down. Some of them I'm sticking flat, but most of them I'm raising up on foam pads. So I always stick the bottom edge down flat with tape, and then I raise the top edges up on foam pads. So I'm just working on the final touches of this layout now, really. I'm just dressing the edges of the whole layout just because that's what I like to do. But also I would like to bring in a bit of colour to the top and the bottom. And I have 2 little strips left over from the ombre paper. And I have one pink and one orange. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to fold over the top and the bottom edges of the cardstock background, and I'm going to stick those 2 coloured strips flush against the edges, but then I'm going to fold those edges just of the white cardstock over a little bit to reveal a little bit of colour underneath. So you can just see me doing it there, just folding that up. And I've also stapled it in place. I've used my Tim Holtz Tiny Attacher, but you can use any stapler that you've got. The staples will just be slightly bigger than these little tiny ones. And then I've distressed the edges of those 2 strips as well. Okay, so nearly done now. My layout is pretty much complete. I just wanted to add in a few final little details. So I'm just going to add in some Bramble Fox perspectives. So we have this beautiful set of Bramble Fox hearts that's made exclusively for us. So I'm just getting a few of those stuck in place. So at the top I've added a pink one, at the middle left cluster I've added another pink one, and there isn't one in the bottom right. So just the 2 I think I added. There's so much going on, I can't necessarily always notice them. So yeah, just the 2 I've added to this layout, and I'm also adding in some of those lovely tiny gold padded hearts, and I'm now just sprinkling over some sequins. So we have beautiful Spiegelmum Scraps sequins, and I've sprinkled a few over each cluster, and then I'm just sticking those down with some glossy accents. And finally, I wrote my journaling over on the left-hand side because there's not a lot of room to put it. And finally, I'm just adding in some splatters of both colours of the Shimmers paints. So we have a Blings Golden Roses, which is a wet paint you can use directly out of the pot, although it might need mixing with some more water to make it flickable. And also the lovely Pinkaboo creamies as well. Okay, and that is my layout complete. So I hope it was helpful to see how I made that and how that layout came together. And don't forget, if you have any questions, please, of course, get in touch, and we will do our best to help you. Thank you so very much for joining me for this layout. That was Nikki Rowland for the session 4 of Make It Multiple.